This is the narrated PowerPoint on the essay Communicate Well and Prosper. What I've done with this section is to take a long PowerPoint covering all the essays and to divide it up into individual PowerPoints covering each essay. So some are very short, but it's a lot more bite size. I think you'll see.
So, some orientation to the task at hand. What we're doing by looking at these essays is looking for a topic that you can explore further for your research project. And of course, we're looking, reading through them as well to learn more about the communication process, especially as it applies to the workplace, and especially its rhetorical aspects. That is, the way in which communication can be persuasive. But you're also looking for a topic for your research project, and you'll be writing your proposal to first get my permission to pursue the topic, and then you'll do a progress report and a final report and an oral presentation. And to some degree, what we may be doing is contextualizing to the present. These individual essays vary quite a bit in terms of when they were written. Some of them were commissioned for this book, and the editor of the book has written several of them herself, and that's all fine and well. She's an endowed professor at a university. She has what we refer to as a chair in communication. So she's certainly a subject matter expert, and it looks like that she's solicited some of these essays from people. Most of them were published in other places, either in books, parts of books, or chapters in books, or articles. And so to some extent, what you may be doing is contextualizing to the present, like finding out what these authors have written since then, or perhaps taking the topic and seeing how that's changed, like in terms of how a particular workplace communication scenario may have changed it, like social media, for example. The first essay, Communicate Well and Prosper, we might think a little bit about the differences between technical communication and business communication. Of course, writing is very important to the business world. We might extend that to communication in the business world. When we think about communication in the business world, we might think about advertising and the role that images play in advertising. And images play a role in the workplace as well, which can vary to how a document is laid out and designed, to images that might be used, which could vary from photographs to drawings to charts of various sorts, such as bar charts or line charts. Now, my area is technical communication, and we might ask what's the difference between that and business communication. And there's very little. These, as you saw from your first reading, technical communication has developed to some degree from courses that were taught in colleges that were originally designed to address the communication problems, specifically writing problems in graduates of engineering programs. So, but there's also what also developed afterwards were business communication courses as well. And the thing is that someone who may think of themselves primarily as a technical communicator, like an engineer, often is also a business communicator as well. That is, they may communicate with the public at large, or with people within an organization that don't have the type of technical expertise that they do. And not an all unusual career track after getting an undergraduate degree in engineering might be to get the master's degree, not to be a master's in engineering, but to be an MBA. And of course, the MBA prepares the person who receives one for management, conceivably. Right? It depends upon what you specialize in, but very often an engineer who wants to be a manager might get an MBA rather than a master's of science in their area of engineering. Of course, a lot of people get the master's in their engineering area as well, but it's very similar to what they've been doing in their undergraduate degree. It's more advanced. So, and the MBA represents a different career direction very often. So anyway, the engineer who is a technical communicator may often find himself or herself also functioning as a business communicator. And someone who is primarily a business communicator, that is, who perhaps gets a degree in business with a BS, BA, a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration, and perhaps gets some expertise at that level with management, often begins to learn a good deal about the technical aspects of a product that the business they work for produces. And so they become technically informed about these different aspects, but they so when they write about these technical aspects for the general public, we can say that they're functioning as technical communicators as well as business communicators. So, and of course, the way in which language is used is very important to a business. That second bullet point, that manager who is overheard to say of an employee who is leaving to take another job that he's like a rat leaving a ship. That comment, and it wasn't even anything that was written. It was just something that was overheard at a conference or a trade show or something like that, was thought to have cost that company thousands and thousands of dollars. And the reason is because what type of ships do rats leave? They leave sinking ships. And so people heard that, and so they assumed that the company was in trouble, and that's why that particular employee was leaving. So writing also has a good deal to do with how someone might be able to move up the corporate hierarchy. While it's, in terms of how much writing someone does with an entry-level position, is going to vary. As someone moves up the corporate hierarchy and starts getting into management or junior management positions, the more the higher up you climb up the corporate hierarchy, the more there'll be responsibilities for writing, and not only for writing but also for public speaking to some degree. And when I'm talking about public speaking, I'm talking about running meetings, for example, as well as what we more traditionally think of with public speaking, that is, with giving a speech. So very often, I don't think that a lot of students who major in something like IT or engineering or business do so with thinking that they're going to have the opportunity to write lots of reports, but that's what winds up happening. Some of my background, I've spent my career teaching, but when I was in my master's program, I had an internship with what was at the time a corporate Fortune 500 company, Northern Telecom, it's a telecommunications company. And I met a software engineer while I was working for that company, and I just asked him, if he did a lot of writing. He said that's what he spent about half of his time doing was writing reports, even though what he had studied in school was, computer science. And that was the type of job that he had working for this company, but he spent most of his time writing reports about what he'd been doing, documenting what he'd been doing, and also what he would like to see done, what needed to be done for the company to be more competitive or what have you. So that's something I think that we've all heard before, right?